Yes, guys, welcome to Chasing Green Arrows. We're back. It's Monday morning, and we are getting in the mood already for game week 18, which is a Thursday deadline this week. I am today's host, Gianni Mattici, and I'm joined by regular co-host and fresh off just recording a bit of Champions League reaction for Ranks FC, Mr. Dean Jones. Dean, how are you, mate? And what do you make of the draw?
Oh, mine's blown, mate. All over the place. I was recording a Premier League show, and then suddenly the draw was made, which I always expect those things to take longer than they do because sometimes the actual show takes so long.
Yeah.
But yeah, about half hour or so ago, we got the last 16 draw. Arsenal got Porto, Man City got Copenhagen. I don't think you can ask for any better than that.
It's a dream for the English teams. It's a dream for the English coefficient. It's not a great draw for the Italian sides. But as my dad always says, you've got to beat the best to win it. And if you have to play Inter Atletico in the last 16, then so be it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of good draws in there for sure. Inter Atleti is probably the
Semenyo
biggest.
returns.
Yes, it's got storylines, it's got high quality. But yeah, City and Arsenal, I'll be very surprised if those teams didn't go through. I mean, Porto is a potential banana skin if Arsenal underestimate them, but I wouldn't have thought they would. So you're looking basically at two English teams going through to the quarterfinals. Obviously, Man City looking to defend their title. They're not playing well. They're not playing too bad, actually. It'd be harsh to say they're not playing well. I think they are playing well, but they're not getting the results that would be expected right now. So to know that they've got Copenhagen coming up in Feb is probably nice because they won't lose 4-3 at Copenhagen. I'm pretty sure of it by the time we get to there, like Man United did. Ahmad says Darwin is rubbish. Dean's always right. That caught my eye straight away. We'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, I think in general, Champions League draw is a good one for the English clubs, particularly, mate.
Napoli-Barcelona is going to be, Inter Atleti and Napoli-Barcelona, the sort of Italian versus Spanish teams, and those two, I'm proper excited for both of those. I think they're the two ties that straight away stand out as the best. I think, yeah, PSV Dortmund could be fun. But yeah, they're the two Italian teams versus the two Spanish. I can't wait for that. And it will have a big effect on the coefficient as well. When we look at the race for who gets that fifth Champions League spot, and two of the European leagues will, Germany and Italy are ranked. I think it's actually Italy, Germany are ranked 1 and 2. The Premier League's got a bit of work to do. There's equal weighting to Champions League as there is for Europa League and Europa Conference. So sure, Premier League fans will want the English teams to win the Champions League, but you also need the likes of Brighton and West Ham and Villa to perform as well, which they have been. So it's going to be really interesting. That race is going to get tighter as I expect Italian teams to drop out the Champions League. The Lazio, for example, who played Bayern in the last 16, and then English teams to go through, and then probably a similar level in the other leagues. So I think it will go down to the wire on that one, which is fun. There was talk that actually in the groups it was better in a way for teams like, say, Lazio, who are always going to get knocked out in the last 16 because they're rubbish. It would have been better for them to finish third in their group, get to the Europa League and have a good progression in that tournament. That would have been way better for the Italian coefficient than, say, Lazio qualifying, which was an interesting one to consider.
That is definitely interesting, mate. Yeah. So yeah, that's definitely something to look forward to, those games, but a couple of months away from that right now.
Yeah.
And with the amount of Premier League fixtures we've got coming up, it's difficult to. I was happy to temporarily go to Europe for some work on it, but like
back
my
to
head is
FPL
still
and
stuck in the Premier League and FPL. Yeah, had a pretty good week. I was pretty happy with it. I got a green arrow. Dug out a little bit. So, do we have any clarity on the Solanke points yet?
I'm glad you asked. Glad you asked. I am waiting for that notification to come in from official FPL. They will no doubt be tweeting today with an update. They tweeted last night saying the game week will remain open. I can't remember that happening before. Like usually, there's the rule within the FPL game. Once points are locked after an hour after the games.
Yeah.
That's clearly not the case. And Dom Solanke's points are still up in the air, for example. So there's a few different scenarios that could happen. We could get the Solanke 6 points, which is the goal he scored, and not the bonus points. He was on for 9. So originally the FPL site showed his points as 9, and then 90 minutes he had played 65 like everyone.
Yeah.
Now that's showing a 6. So they've gone, we'll give you the points that were locked in, but we won't give you the points that were still up in the air. As you know, bonus can change right up until the 90th minute. But if the game is replayed, which we fully now know that will happen, we don't know what official FPL will do. Will they chalk off those Solanke points, for example, and Senesi and whoever? There's a few popular Bournemouth assets out there now. Give them 0, and then the game is replayed later, and Solanke just gets a double game like everyone else. If that's the case, then your auto sub, your first sub, will come in. So that will change massively everyone's green or red arrow this week for some. For me, it doesn't matter too much. I've got Lascelles, who got 6 points first sub, Solanke 6 in my 11. Obviously, I'd prefer the 9, and maybe there's a chance to give him that. There's the other school of thought. It's very, very, very slim chance. Could that game be replayed this game week? So Luton and Bournemouth don't have a Carabao Cup tie, and they both play Saturday 3 p.m. You could argue they could schedule it for Wednesday night and play a 30-minute game, or play the whole 90-minute game. Again, there's the whole exceptional circumstances part or caveat to the Premier League rules and the FPL rules, which still leave this whole situation up in the air. So I expect there will be clarity, hopefully in the next hour or two. Awesome if we get it live.
Gary makes a good point.
Later down the line.
Yeah, I like Gary's point. He says he thinks the BPS would be in bad taste, but that the 6 points should stay because of the exceptional circumstances. I can see that. I can see a reason for that. Like you, it doesn't matter to me. I mean, I've got Gordon on to come in for 6 points, so it doesn't really matter too much. But but it is definitely one that's thrown people, and I'm sure some people were slightly worried about it. Obviously, the most important thing is that we see a full recovery. It was a crazy moment that unfolded inside that stadium, so fingers crossed everything turns out okay. Says, is Tom Lockyer okay and responsive now? I mean, the reports seem to suggest so. I mean, they're obviously going to be very sensitive around this, but there's only been positives around that so far. So just got to go on that and hope for the best. But absolutely, like, shocking. Just when I actually saw it, it's different. It's strange, isn't it? Because when you hear that the game's been paused and that he's collapsed, and there's conflicting reports as to what had actually happened and how he'd gone down, and you're just waiting when you never assume it's the worst. And then when you actually see the video of him just collapsing, it's just like, oh my God, like that is just beyond comprehension, really. But it looks like a sobering afternoon for everyone that was there.
I was pleased to see the game didn't continue, and I think we've all learned from what we saw how UEFA handled the situation with Eriksen. The fact that game was played on blows my mind. I don't know how the players were asked to continue after what they saw happen to their teammate. And even the TV footage and stuff, everything was completely different this time round for the better. But yeah, thoughts are with Lockyer, his family, and all the Luton players. This has happened twice to the same player in the last 8-9 months. Obviously, the Championship playoff final. But both times off the ball, Dean, what's your take there? Like, I mean, we're no medical experts, but my thoughts here are, hopefully you make a full recovery, but there's a big question mark whether this guy plays football again. Like, he's 29, but both off the ball incidents like that, you surely don't play again.
I mean, not 2 incidents like that across the same calendar year, like 6-7 months apart. It's insane. Like, you very rarely see this happen at all. And I've been going to football my whole life, and I've never seen this happen on the pitch. And Luton fans have seen it happen twice to the same player in the same year. And you'd think there's very little chance he plays again. But let's get him back healthy first, and then I'm sure they'll make the decision in due course. Stephen, no, I'm not drinking gin and tonic. I don't like gin and I don't like tonic. So that would be a really bad choice of drink for me if I was drinking gin and tonic at midday on a Monday. Things aren't that bad yet.
Yeah. Good stuff. Well, let's crack on with the rest of the FPL headlines then. It was a good weekend for FPL points. If we take away the kind of stuff that's up in the air, loads of the players we thought would return actually did. We got loads of clean sheets for once. We haven't been getting clean sheets from Arsenal and Spurs and Liverpool. That was nice. Loads of clean sheet points. Solanke was a good shout though, Dean, right? Like, we bigged Solanke up on this stream all of last week, and actually he only played an hour. He got a point. He was on for 3 bonus. He also missed a big chance before he scored the goal. Like, that seems like a good pick. But the big
Yeah,
pick up front that's really hitting people that sold him is those that went Darwin for Watkins a few weeks
yeah.
back, like me. The swing between Darwin and Watkins has been something like 20 odd points in 3 weeks, plus the 2 transfers by selling Watkins to then have to bring him back in. It's a big hit for those that went Darwin. It's been shocking.
Yeah, it's definitely bad. It's a strange one to read, Darwin's situation. I mean, I think that Liverpool are better sometimes with just going Hackpo through the middle and trying to playing Darwin off of him. But I know, and sometimes Darwin plays through the middle in games like that, and he does cause so many problems that he seems like a good option. So they still need to manage this one and figure out how to unlock the guy. But hard to stick with him. I mean, my version of Darwin Núñez is Alvarez. In the last 8 game weeks, just barely anything back from the guy. And that's been hard to take because you're thinking, right, if Haaland's not hitting the goals, then surely Alvarez will. And even going into that Palace game, knowing Haaland's not playing, you're like, okay, Alvarez will get something. He comes out of it with 2 points. And
a big chance missed early on. He had a good chance, didn't he? And to go 1-0 up.
Big chance, mate. Did he have a disallowed goal? And was that the game? I've watched so many games.
There was a disallowed goal, but I don't know if that was Alvarez.
I think it might have been, mate. I've got a feeling it was. Let us know I've watched too much football over the last 2 days. I've got a feeling I've watched Alvarez score a disallowed goal at the weekend. But yeah, luckily I had Watkins, so that helped me. And that made me happy.
Rodri offside, free kick, Rodri. I was listening to that on the radio, so I remember hearing the Rodri offside, and I must admit, I wasn't I didn't actually know who scored the goal.
Yeah.
Went through everyone, didn't it?
Yeah, thanks everyone. But yeah, so that's my version of the Darwin one. This week I'll be going with a top 2 of Watkins and Solanke facing Sheffield United and Nottingham Forest. So reasonably happy about that with where we are right now. And hoping that I can just keep that Haaland money in the bank for now. I've got 8 million or whatever sat there, and it just needs to stay sat there. I must not be tempted to dig into that and try and strengthen other little bits and pieces just in case they come back and he's looking sharp again for that Sheffield game at the end of the month. But very hard to judge Man City at the moment, isn't it? I mean,
yeah.
I don't know what all this means, mate. I don't know if they're not out of the title race. Certainly not. And I don't even think they would be out of the title race if they were 10 points behind right now, because there'd be enough time in the season to regain momentum. But it's the scary thing that might be for everyone is that they've got a challenge ahead of them. Absolutely. And it means they've got to go out and they've got to perform, because they do tend to try and go through not try and go through the motions, but they go through the motions because I think they struggle to find the inner motivation. And I think the crowd struggle to get up for the games. If you're 2-0 up against Crystal Palace and Palace are barely touching the ball, you're not going to be standing on your chair screaming for more or anything. You're that enthusiasm is not going to be there. But now they're going to have to push for every point. And it'll serve as a lesson that actually you do need to be screaming on your chair, get the third, kill this game off, because 2 is not enough. I mean, the Hodgson laughing at Guardiola meme is my favorite. It's genuinely my favorite moment of the weekend. It is so funny. It's so funny. The way that he's laughing is brilliant. Palace had no right to get anything from that game, but fair play to them. They found a couple of flaws late on. And
it was a silly tackle from Foden. That was legit a definite penalty. Of course it was.
Yeah.
You could argue earlier in the game, Ederson could have seen red. The yellow card was given for Ederson. That could have changed everything with an Ederson red card. He was
lucky, man.
Yeah, he was lucky. I often think Ederson gets lucky with decisions like that. Yeah, Palace. Fair play to Palace, but City definitely a little bit, I don't know, a little bit more of a soft centre than we've seen. Not quite got that ruthless edge, have they? And again, they haven't looked like the team that when it gets to 2, when I know it's late in the game, but we've seen this a bit recently with City when they've been going for the 3 points, and the game's been drawing with 10 minutes left. You used to have the expectation with City, I just know we're getting an injury time winner. I just know they're going to come up with a goal.
Yep.
don't really feel that at the minute. And I don't know if no Kevin De Bruyne probably has a big impact on that. I always feel like he's the player late in the game that will dig something out.
I think, yeah, there's obviously that, and I think once you've got De Bruyne and Haaland actually on that team, it obviously is like
very different,
game changing in a way that nobody else could ever compete with. So that's what we're going to have to come. And what we know is that Guardiola is not going to give up this title without a fight. Like the Club World Cup, they'll go away and not only will they try and win that trophy, but there's some frank discussions about what's been going on. It might be a time for bonding and togetherness and actually to bring this team together in a way that it's not that they haven't had togetherness, but, there might just be something lacking here. There's something missing.
Yeah.
They're not resolute enough and they're throwing away points that is just uncharacteristic. And that, I would be surprised if that became an ongoing trait. I really would, because it's something that you would expect to be knocked out of this team pretty quickly. As to Villa Bossi says, they're missing Gundo so badly. He always got clutch goals. Not always, but yeah, he did, especially last season. And maybe that covers up some of this. Maybe this was already a problem that was there, but Gundogan was right time, right place, and they haven't got that player. Spoken about it before, but there's a reason they were looking at other midfielders. I like a Rice or a Bellingham. I know those two are very different players, but, you could see why they might have needed either of those types for the sorts of problems that they've had right now. And I think when you look at Declan Rice, Arsenal have got a player that Man City and Liverpool haven't got right now. And I think that is a big thing that in Arsenal's armoury that does give them a chance of remaining title contenders.
Yeah, it's a good point. I'm glad they didn't get Rice because I think Arsenal with Rice does make them, as you say, contenders. And the title race this season is more interesting than I can remember for a long time. It is genuinely a 3-horse race. Guys, maybe we'll do a poll. Who do you think will win the league? As things stand, are you backing Liverpool, City or Arsenal? Dean and I will also give our take. But yeah, get voting on that. We'll put a poll out. And you mentioned Bellingham there. I'm glad City didn't get Bellingham, Dean, because I feel like, one, they would have just completed football if they did. But two, I don't think Pep would be playing Bellingham in the role Ancelotti does. In fact, he almost certainly wouldn't. Not yet. Maybe eventually he would have been moved to more of a 10. But I think we see Bellingham at Real Madrid with just complete license, and we wouldn't have seen that under Pep. So again, just to get the best out of him, Ancelotti and Real Madrid's the perfect fit, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so, mate. I don't want to see Bellingham back in English football, to be honest with you. I want him to go and spend his whole career in La Liga.
How much would he be in FPL this season?
This season?
He probably wouldn't have been much. He would have been like 8 million.
I reckon, that 8 or 9 mil, I reckon you'd have got Bellingham at. And I reckon
it'll be 12 next year.
12 or 13. But yeah, it was an interesting game week. Obviously, the Liverpool frustrations that they couldn't find a goal out of all those opportunities. Varane and
Johnny Evans.
Name Johnny Evans. Yeah, Johnny Evans. I was about to say Johnny Shaw, and I was like, his name's definitely not Johnny Shaw. Completely evaded me. Johnny Evans, with a combined age of like 65, like holding up there against Liverpool's front 3 or 4, however you want to dress it up. And Salah, very, very hard to judge this season because his numbers that he's putting up, he's got more contributions than games played, but he just doesn't. He's not the same version.
He's been fortunate. We called this months ago. Like, I remember Ian telling us both, like having watched him live it was like, it's not the same player this season. But because of FPL, we're all like, no, we need the points. And he was getting them. Of course he was getting the points.
Yeah.
But was it the season before last? I think he scored one against... he scored a couple of goals where it was just like complete dancing feet Mo Salah in the box.
Yeah.
Twinkle toes, rounding off people, like just inevitable. Salah was going to score a banger.
Yeah,
we haven't seen one example of that this season, I don't think.
Not really, mate. He's not doing the same thing, but he is still creating, and this is the thing. Like, he's still capable of these little passes and he's seeing these little things that nobody else can. So I still think Liverpool will be worse off without him whenever he goes. But I do think that other people need to start taking responsibility, and we shouldn't just have this expectation on Salah right now. I think that it's time for other players to emerge as stars in their own right, because I don't think it's going to work to have Salah digging them out this season. I don't think that's going to be able to happen like it has in the past. Craig says, "Is Darwin?" I presume this says, "Is Darwin the biggest FPL in history?" Does he mean flop? I'm guessing so.
I'd say so. I'd say means flop. I mean, he's not been in it long enough to perhaps call him the biggest, but Timo Werner comes to mind as another asset. Although he probably scored a bit more than
He
Darwin.
scored more, and then it towards the end. Yeah.
We can wait and see with Darwin when Salah's at the Afcon, and there'll be more responsibility on Darwin as a player, as an individual. But again, minutes, because with no Salah and if Jota is still injured, then you look at the front three and go, okay, there's even more need for someone like a Darwin to step up. Again, who takes penalties with no Salah? You assume it'll be Szoboszlai. Again, will Szoboszlai play on the right-hand side in Salah role, or do they need him in the middle? Because Gary Neville mentioned it a lot in commentary on Super Sunday. He felt like the substitution of Szoboszlai was a really strange one from Klopp. He wasn't having the greatest game, but he was getting a little bit of joy in behind Luke Shaw. But Gary Neville's clearly watched him a lot this season and gone, yeah, this is the player of Liverpool's midfield, and when he's off, they don't function in the same way. I wonder if he had a knock, because it was strange. I think he was on a yellow card, but it was strange to see someone that's played 90 minutes literally every week get hooked at 60 odd.
Yeah, you're right. I'm just looking at his poll. Like,
what do you reckon? Who did you vote for, Dean? I voted Arsenal.
I did vote Arsenal, yeah, but that was because I thought other people would vote for Man City.
Oh no, I voted Arsenal because I actually thought. I mean, it's such a hard one to call, isn't it? I'm ruling. I feel like I can rule Liverpool out. I don't know why I think that, but I think it's between Arsenal and City
and Villa. Villa are going to be top of the league at Christmas.
Yeah, because they've got Sheffield United this weekend.
They've got Sheffield United and Arsenal are playing Liverpool, and so there is a strong chance, Bozzy, that you're going to be top of the league.
Oh wow!
At Christmas, that's insane.
Yeah, have Villa ever been top of the league at Christmas?
I remember like early days of the Prem, like Villa were like punching right up there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember specifically. I'm sure Bozzy knows, but I always remember that they were like challenging in like second, third.
Yeah.
I don't know if they were ever actually, ever actually going to look like winning the league. I says Dean, I don't think Arsenal will beat Liverpool. I don't really know which way to call that game, really. It's going to be a really tough one, isn't it?
Is it an FPL swerve, that game, in terms of captaincy? Like, there's a few bust teams, like straight away you look at your team and go, oh, Captain Mo Salah. I'm not so sure I'm going to be captaining Salah in that fixture. I just think that's a swerve in terms of I can't predict it. If you think it's a fixture that has high goals, then sure, it's a good one for Salah. Like, could you see a 3-3 cracker and then Salah captaincy is a good shout, which you maybe can. But knowing both defences have just kept a clean sheet and Liverpool drew 0-0 with United, Arsenal only have been scoring goals more frequently recently. I wonder if it'll be a tight occasion, but it's so hard. If there's an early goal, then that could change everything.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, it's very difficult not to get. And for Arsenal to, I'm going to say it's a draw. I'm just going to hang my hat on a draw and say I would expect Villa to win. That is unbelievable. Darius says Villa challenged United in the 90s but crumbled. Yeah, that's what I remembered that to be as well. Leo says only 2 good captain options this week, Watkins or Son. Well, at least I have both of those players, so that's a nice place to be right now. I think I'm veering towards Son, to be honest.
Oh yeah, home to Everton.
I think so, mate.
It's not a bad. I mean, Son at home against anyone is a good choice.
Yeah, but then Watkins isn't a bad choice at captain for this game.
I'm going Watkins if I own him.
Oh yeah. I could easily be swayed. Yeah, I've got to really think about it more clearly. But yeah, we'll also see Everton play against Fulham tomorrow in the Carabao Cup quarterfinals.
Oh, true.
So that's a pretty big game, and they'll be putting a lot into that game.
I didn't think of that. To be fair, Spurs have a week off, or midweek off, so that's an interesting one.
So
for
just
Son call.
Yeah, so hold fire a little bit on all your plans, people, because that is a pretty significant fixture for Everton this season, because it's a chance for them to end the season silverware, like a season when they've been deducted 10 points. They stay in and the way the Carabao Cup's opening up, there aren't that many good teams left in it. Yeah. So it's a competition that can be won, and Everton and Fulham is a game whereby you'd think whoever. Well, one of those is going to fancy their chances of an unexpected run at winning a trophy. So just keep an eye on it.
It's a good
I'll tell you,
draw, isn't it? You're right about the teams left in it, Dean. Like, there's no City, there's no United, there's no Arsenal. It's Everton, Fulham, Port Vale, Borough is one of
yeah,
the quarters. Like Port
yeah.
Vale versus Middlesbrough,
I mean, you expect Chelsea Newcastle is where the winner comes from.
and Liverpool, West Ham is the other one.
Yeah, I forgot about Liverpool. Yeah, but yeah, it's Chelsea. I mean, I'm not banking on. I don't think Chelsea are going to win a trophy with this team.
God no.
Absolutely no way would I back them. And Newcastle. Well, no, I can't trust Newcastle to go and win a trophy because Newcastle never win anything. So I can't back that until I've seen it. So it comes down to it. You're like, okay, well, Chelsea normally back to win a trophy, but not in this state. So yeah, maybe it is Liverpool, or maybe even West Ham. Maybe even West Ham if they can somehow come out of that one with things. Because Moyes, for all the stick he's taken, mate, that was a very nice performance against Wolves that West Ham pulled off. Kudus and Paqueta combining beautifully. Paqueta with 3 assists. Kudus with 2 goals. Bowen gets another goal. It's so annoying because you don't know when you can. The only thing you can trust really with West Ham is Bowen's going to score. But the nature of that performance was so much more entertaining. But I'm just never convinced that David Moyes wants to entertain anyone. So are they going to carry on playing that way? This is the big problem with their identity. And West Ham fans being torn over whether they even want him to stay. It's such a strange one.
They change. Yeah, I feel like West Ham fans change their mind on Moyes by the week.
Yeah, because the performance changes every week, I think.
True. Yeah. Shout out, by the way, to Fabianski. The first, I think, is it the first or second clean sheet West Ham have kept all season? Areola still is trolling us. And Kudus, those 2 goals. Ali Yahangarov, who won FPL last year, has had Kudus in his team for a fair few weeks. He's been getting huge points from him. Great differential pickup there. Obviously, the crowd that did go to West Ham went to Bowen, who's still popping up with some points, but not in the same way as the. Is he Ghanaian? I think he might be. He'll be off, obviously, to the Afcon. We've got in the chat FPL songs. Rob, hope you're well, mate. Rob sent me, Dean, and I don't have it on me to show, so I'm going to have to show it on Wednesday's stream. You know, you had a planning FPL book that you were sent.
Yep.
By Craig, who I think is also in the chat.
Yeah,
so FPL Songs has launched something cool. Now it's a funny spelling, and he's put the name in the chat. It's something like skits, Stickits. So Rob, put the details in the chat, and anyone that fancies a late Christmas present can perhaps put it on their wish list. He's launched. It's not it's not a book. It's like a pull-out sort of poster board, if you like, and you can write on your players and stick them on. So it's a football pitch, and you stick it like a formation board, right?
Yeah.
So I have got a plain white wall behind me. I've got rid of the shirts to hang it on the wall for these videos, but I still haven't opened the package, and I've had it weeks. So on Wednesday, I will be opening it. I think the wife put it under the tree, and I've just been completely been like, oh, it's under the tree. Yeah, so I've been sidetracked, but I can't wait to get planning. And through the festive period, I'm definitely going to be using that.
Yeah, that sounds a lot of fun. Oh, nice one. That's really cool.
There's the info in the chat. Thanks, mate.
Stick kits, like stickable kits, like it. That is a very cool name for it.
You'll see it on my wall on Wednesday and Friday stream. I absolutely must make I don't want to promise because I don't like breaking them, but a semi promise to do that.
Judging by the last few weeks, yeah, you don't want to get anyone's hopes up. Okay, very good. We're halfway through the show. Thanks for everyone that is jumping on in the build up to Christmas. Only a few days to go now. Do you get time off for your normal day job, mate? Are you getting any break?
I have. I've booked this week off. So this week is chilling, and it's more because I've got annual leave entitlement to use, and it gets wiped at the end of the year if I don't use it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, because it's actually quite a nice week to work because loads of people you'd ordinarily talk to are off, so it's a really quiet week. But I've got it booked off anyway. So yeah, I should be going full steam ahead with my stickable kits and my making shorts and stuff like that for my own chat, but I'm not. I've just been really lazy and watching Kin on BBC iPlayer. I don't know if you've seen it.
No.
I've been watching that this morning. Good fun.
Okay, something I'll have to look out for. I don't have a job, so I need to make work for myself. Yeah,
you're about to get into silly season as well, aren't you, with transfers? So it's a busy time of year for you.
Yeah, it is going to be a busy time. I'm not convinced there will be that many actual transfers, but I do think we'll see a few panic ups, and obviously there are a fair few players that need an escape route. So there'll be enough going on that we'll all get through. I'm sure we'll talk about it across the next month.
Oh yeah, I
over
look forward to
here.
quizzing you on Calvin Phillips every day. Then
Honestly,
he's
that one is already
when you say
annoying me.
escape routes, like that's the one I think of straight away.
It's already annoying me because Calvin Phillips have already been reporting on for a month, and it hasn't really moved forward. Like,
Yeah,
I was one of the first to do like Juve are in for him, but so are Newcastle. Which black and white will he choose?
nice.
And that was literally October. I was writing that. And now, like, even today, it's like, oh, Juventus are ready to open talks with Phillips. And I'm like, well, Newcastle will do that as well. They just haven't really done it. And I don't think this has really actually moved on very far from where we were 2 months ago. So it's just, yeah, it's annoying, but there we go. It's part of the nature of the job. Episode T, what is your day job, Gianni? He delivers Amazon parcels. He's no, he doesn't. He doesn't do anything like that.
Yeah, I'll leave it up for mystery, and we'll reveal all.
Yeah,
in
everyone can have
show.
a guess as to what they think he should be doing for a living. I think that's the best way to leave Gianni's. I'm making it sound like you have a really weird job here. He's not doing anything that strange.
I'm not a stripper, everyone. Okay.
No, yeah, basically that's what it'll rule out right away.
I just noticed the name in the title is Salah blanks, but Palmer goes big, and we should touch on Cole Palmer from this weekend. So let's move on to our tips and chips section, where we're going to be touching on some of those that got 3 bonus points. Oh, Dean, we're gonna have to touch on what is Gianni's job, and then also we have to get to, by the end of the show, what famous player did Dean see this week. So stay tuned for both those things. We'll get to them before the end of the show.
Okay, we will.
We've got some great suggestions coming in. Thank you, CH and Craig and Rob and 24K. Dean, bonus beasts. I love doing this feature. I very rarely get to talk about a Chelsea player as top of the bonus points, and someone we don't like to tell people who you have to buy in FPL. Like, that's not what FPL content creators love doing. You don't hang your hat on someone and go, you have to buy this player. But I'm going to go out there and say, if you don't own Cole Palmer, get him in your team. Like, probably have to do it. And I don't like saying that. He's 5.5 million. This is a player that will be 8 million next season, perhaps even more. He's on penalties. He's got great fixtures. He's Chelsea's best and only good player by a country mile. And he's only 20% owned. I'm guessing the vast majority in the chat do have Cole Palmer, but genuinely, if you don't have him, move towards him. This was his heat map. He actually started as the number 10, Dean. This is from the entire 90 and then moved to the right. He started in the Conor Gallagher role because Poch dropped Enzo and played Caicedo and Gallagher in a 2 and Palmer as the 10. It didn't really work. He got more joy when he moved out wide. But Cole Palmer out wide does drift in field, as we can see there. All those touches centrally as well. He's just a beautiful player to watch, isn't he?
Yeah, I don't know why only 20% of people have got him. Doesn't make any sense to me, given the price he's been at. I mean, he's rising now, but
I paid 4.9, I think.
Yeah, I don't know if I got him at 4.9 or 5, but it was right down there.
Yeah.
And pretty much since game week 1 for Chelsea, he's shown he's got something which is different, and it's probably an elite mentality through going through Man City, because that has been lacking at Chelsea. Sorry, spitting out your drink there. But yeah, he's just got a level of belief in himself that is not swayed by how the team is performing, and he's got brilliant characteristics that really suit this Chelsea team. And I that price will end up being 6 million for sure.
Yeah.
It will.
Yeah. And next season, he will be like sort of
Could be a 7 million asset,
Martinelli, Odegaard, Saka price, sort of 8 million-ish. I think so. Yeah. The numbers have been that good because of penalties as well.
Yeah.
4 pens.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, if it's a Chelsea asset, there aren't many that you would want. But Cole Palmer, because he's so cheap and he's so reliable in terms of being on the pitch, and if he's going to come up with anyone's going to come up with a goal, it's him.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should all have him by now.
He scored the goal. He got an assist. He also laid it on a plate for Brozier in what was just an incredible miss. He also took a free.
How he missed that?
Honestly, he then takes a free kick which nearly goes in. A free kick that he won. The XA and XG metrics are different from. So I took this from SofaScore. They're different on, say, Fantasy Football Scout, the Premier League SofaScore, because they all use different XG models. I don't quite know why this one is so much more generous. His XGI, his combined goals and assists here, as you can see, is almost 2.0, 0.7 plus 1.26.
Yeah.
On the FPL site, I think it was given as 1.41. So quite a big difference. I'm not sure where the difference is there. It might be that he won the free kick and then took the free kick, and you can't score and assist, yet he was given both. But again, that was a fairly low XG chance. Maybe the chance for Brozier, one model didn't have it as a huge chance, and the other one did. I'm not too sure. But regardless, you don't see these sorts of numbers by players that are priced 5.5 million in FPL.
No, exactly that. Yeah.
You don't see those passes, do you, Dean? Look at that. 59 passes. How many number 10s or wide men in a game clock 59? They're the sort of numbers you see for a centre-back. 59 passes. That's obscene. Like, usually you'd get 30 passes for that sort of position.
Yeah, that's a good point. And one thing you want for this Christmas run-in is players that you can rely on being picked, obviously. And here's one that will be picked, because there's nobody else that you can really trust as consistently as Palmer can be. Mike says Palmer is almost essential, I feel, right now. And I agree with that. I'm surprised, as I say, that he's only 20% owned. Man City might even be wishing that they had him to call upon, because he was doing fine with City. He just wasn't going to get the game time he wanted, and City felt they could live without him. And sometimes they make these strange decisions. That's the level that they set themselves at. They can let out players like this, let them go to a club like Chelsea, get on with things, but not looking an amazing decision right now.
Yeah, it's nice for it to go the other way and Chelsea benefit, knowing we let the likes of Salah and De Bruyne and Lukaku, and even more recently, you look at Tomori and Gay. Oh, so many. When you look at this average position map, it's good just to focus on the Chelsea shape. The back four is interesting, with Chilwell out injured and now Reece James out injured. And I don't know when Gusto returns. I think it's soon. There was 4 centre-backs on show for Poch here. So you can see the Poch system historically is light, especially when back at Spurs, high fullbacks, wingbacks. At Chelsea, he seems okay, even when Chilwell was fit. Colwill was getting game time, about the centre-backs being fullbacks and being fairly reserved. So you can see no one really crossing the halfway line in terms of average position. Disasi at right back, with Colwill at left back, Badiashile and Thiago Silva. It does then mean the attacking players have less defensive responsibility. So again, when you look at a Sterling or a Cole Palmer or a Mudryk, they just get to go and express themselves in attack, which is quite nice because that back four behind them doesn't move much. Another reason to go and buy Palmer there.
Yeah, and Nkunku on the bench at the weekend.
Did he?
Didn't make it on, but Nkunku was named in the subs, which means we're another step closer, because he's been around the squad for a couple of weeks.
First team.
Now he's on the bench, and now you're like, okay, so he hasn't come on in this game, which is a slight surprise given that they were in control. You thought you might give him a couple of minutes at the end, but you look ahead at some of the fixtures coming up for Chelsea before the end of the year: Wolves, Crystal Palace, and Luton. We will be seeing the arrival in this game of Nkunku, and we'll get a better idea for the new year of how quickly we might want to consider him an asset. Obviously, Chelsea are going to be hit by Afcon and stuff, just like a lot of teams. Craig says Nkunku will be in everyone's second wildcard team post Afcon. Interesting call.
Yeah, if you're going wildcard, then by the way, Jackson obviously is off with Senegal for the Afcon. So, and Brozier's definitely not ready to be playing week in, week out in terms of he looks a little bit short of match fitness. Yeah. Let's move on to our other. I think I only picked out 2 from the Saturday games. We've got a player here who's just massively stepped up in recent weeks. And again, he's had a slight position shift. Again, just going straight away to the boring number here. The accurate passes. This is a good game from Kulu, 28. Just bearing in mind that Palmer had double that. Just when I touched on a player in this position would usually get 28 passes. Like, that's a good position. Kulu and Palmer pretty much played the same role against at the weekend. They started centrally and then moved out wide. And that's exactly what Kulu did.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. They are pretty similar and they both managed to thrive. So that's something to keep an eye on. 7.1 is probably a fairer reflection of what you'd expect to be playing for a player like Palmer right now. So if you were to pick out the 2, I'd still go Palmer, especially with the pen asset. Craig says, do we know when Maddison is back? He is back in January, isn't he?
Yeah, the FPL site does have it, I think, as mid-Jan, but
Yeah.
still, it's hard to know until he's back in first team training. As soon as you see him back in training, you can then go, okay, maybe it's 2 weeks till he's in the 11.
Yeah, well, he did an interview with Ben Foster a couple of weeks
I
ago.
saw that.
And he was quite optimistic about it. And then Ange Postecoglou was asked about it.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'm not sure what his credentials are as a doctor, to be honest. I think he's just hoping rather than knowing anything at all. We'll wait and see. So he's not going to be rushed back because they'll obviously want him for the rest of the season for sure. But yeah, mid to end of Jan, Craig, I think is when we could expect to see Maddison. Craig's off to the gym now. See you later, mate. Catch you later on. Thanks everybody else who's joining us right now on a Monday afternoon. As some of you will be up super early right now. What's your get up time these days, G? Because your kid's getting a little bit older. Are you getting any leeway?
She went through a phase of waking up at 7:30 a couple of weeks ago, but now she's back on the 6:30, which was kind of always her norm. I say her norm. That was good coming out of the baby phase. It was because it was anywhere between 5 and 6:30. But now 6:30 seems last few mornings, which I think I'm okay with. 6:30 feels like oh yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah, my 3-year-old still reasonably often does a 5:36. Yeah. I do not deal with that one. I can assure you of that.
That more in the summer because of the daylight. Because I think Gaia in the summer wakes up earlier, but I haven't had enough summers and winters with her to check that out. But the light, I think, has something to do with it.
It does have something to do with it for sure. I don't want to see you 5:30 for a long time. I can tell you that much. But yeah, if you are up early today, thanks for jumping on. Go and grab yourself a coffee and enjoy the last 20 minutes or so of the show. Gary says Kulusevski feels like a superhero when he puts on the mask. Yeah, he's playing like a bit of a superhero at the moment for Ange.
He could be on pens. Could he be on pens with no Son? I mean, if Maddison's back in the team during the Asia Cup, you think Mads could take him? But I think Kulu massively could step up for pens with no Son.
Yeah, I think so, mate. Yeah,
he's fancy him.
Yeah, he's technically that is the exact type of player that I would be looking at.
Yeah,
at bringing up. Jamie says my son, 10 months, didn't wake up until 9 a.m. Which is great when I start at 7 a.m. Dodge that early change. Yeah. Mate, how are you managing to get to 9 a.m.? I still haven't got there. I've got a 6-year-old. Enjoy it. I'll say that. Enjoy it. Richarlison is Brazil's penalty taker, says Bozzy.
He scored one in the Copa America final, I think, Richarlison. He does take a good pen, to be fair. I'd still rather Kulu over a pen.
I would too.
Technician.
Yeah, absolutely. CH
has made a good point. Blackout curtains are your friend. And yeah, so before Guy was born, I got tailor-made blackout curtains for a bedroom because I just knew, because I'm a sensitive sleeper with light. But it's not just in the summer, it's not just the light, it's the birds singing, it's the things that come with the daylight hours. And yeah, I can't unfortunately get rid of all those bird noises outside our room.
Also, my kids don't even stay in their own bed half the time, so that wouldn't be any help at all.
Yeah, I can only afford to do Guy's room. Exactly.
Your bedroom's like bright as you like. Bill says hit the like button, and I absolutely agree with him. It's that time of the show. 15 minutes left. Go and hit the like button, people. Show us some love on this Monday. Shepherd, remember what I told you about this Nunes and Timo Werner are, well, I presume he's going to say a couple or something. Coupled in terms of where they're going in FPL points might be exactly the point. But
let's throw Rasmus Haaland in there as well, then, because he's still not got a Premier League goal and he doesn't get any stick. And yet Darwin and Werner score goals. Jackson gets so much stick. He's been scoring goals. Haaland, it's like you've
800
loads of minutes.
88 minutes, mate. 888 minutes.
Oh wow, I didn't know that high.
Yeah, so he's heading like if he gets to 1,000 minutes without a Premier League goal, that is insane. Like,
how much did they pay
the chance he had against Liverpool? Was it 70 million in the end?
It's huge, wasn't it?
It was huge. I mean, double the price of what he should have been. It was a good save from Alisson. Haaland's got to score that.
Yeah.
Like,
it's still a one-on-one. Like,
it's this one-on-one. You do not get those opportunities in a game that tight with that few opportunity. You've got to take it. And this is the difference between signing Harry Kane and signing Haaland.
Yeah, Kane scores that 9 times out of 10, doesn't he?
And I know that, like, talking about players at different ends of their career, but in terms of what their actual value was in that transfer market, wasn't a lot. Actually, wasn't a lot between what those two players ended up going for. So maybe it's again just a reflection of where Man United are right now and what they're having to buy compared to what they actually want to buy. I agree with Aston Villa. Bozzy Jackson is the worst. How jammy are half his goals? That one at the weekend, mate, is hilarious. Liv was talking about Jackson's goal record on Twitter. I had to really, really bite my tongue not to bite on it, mate, because she's like, he's got 7 goals. That's a good return. It's better than a good return. I was like, should we go through them?
Yeah, the two at Spurs were against 9 men, where he actually underperformed his XG.
the worst hat trick you've ever seen. If there's such thing as a bad hat trick, that was it. He scored against Luton, Burnley, Sheffield United. They're 3 of his goals, and he's got one other one against Man City. That's his 7 goals. You're telling me that's a good reflection? I'm not even on him. Like I made a point of this on Ranks today, actually. My problem isn't really with Nicholas Jackson because he's a 22-year-old striker who actually didn't cost that much money, really. It's more that Chelsea thought this would be enough. Yeah. Chelsea, if they'd have signed an elite number 9, would be doing what Aston Villa are doing.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
It should be.
Yeah, I like Jackson, but he's still not there in terms of his finishing. But I think you still get quite a bit from him. If you're comparing the 2 transfers between Jackson and Haaland, knowing Jackson was half the price, similar age, I prefer Jackson. You might argue the ceiling is high with Haaland because you see enough in him, but yeah, it's an interesting one. We'll judge him at the end of the season, perhaps. But yeah, I look forward to more discussion.
But yeah, this comparison: Jackson. Darwin versus Haaland versus Jackson. Yeah, I think it'd be a good YouTube show. The 3 of them should get together, produce a channel. And see, like they could see what they could hit each week. You could put a barn door for the first week and see who hits the barn door the most time.
Who'd be the worst? Who is the worst finisher out of those 3? We haven't seen.
It says the stats say Haaland at this point, but
yeah, I haven't seen him miss enough sitters though.
No, I think it's Jackson. I think
it's Darwin.
Do you think it's Darwin?
I also think Darwin would score the most worldies out of the 3.
Mate, this is a premise for an amazing show. Like their football careers could be over in a year, so I could have a chance to actually put it to them and say, lads, I've got an idea. It could make us a lot of money on YouTube. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
Shall we check out and see how our team's got on? Because I'm gonna have to show my Darwin 1-pointer. So look, let's see the Chaser team, my team, your team, and then we'll also get to what's Gianni's job and who did Dean meet that was famous football this week.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, go on, Dean.
I was going to say that Ahmed was saying it was 8:48 p.m. in Malaysia. Mike got back. It's 3:48 here in Alaska. Mike, talk me through this. Talk me through that. Oh, on night shift. Okay, that's fine.
I don't think of Alaska when I think of the US. I don't think of the time difference because obviously that's so far over.
3:48 a.m. Medivac pilot. That is a proper job. That sounds like. Me and you sat here on a Monday lunchtime doing this, and he's a night shift and I don't know. It sounds so important. Yeah, like all of those words, Medivac pilot. Like
do you fancy sponsoring the stream, Mike? Sounds like you might be able to.
We'll keep you awake for every shift. We promise. Just fund us. Yeah, hopefully it's a quiet night for you. Yeah, I agree with that, CH. I definitely agree with that. Right, let's quickly rattle through our teams. That's why you all come here to talk about FPL, not about Mike's night shift. My team, like, this is the first time in a long time that I've been satisfied. And, like, Son 2 points and Alvarez 2 points, like, very frustrating. This could have been an unbelievable game week if they'd at least weighed in with one. But
double Newcastle defense, though, mate. Like you've been let down by some double combinations, but not this week.
I have, mate. Massively.
Good job. Jimenez got sent off.
I'm not gonna lie. No, I'm not gonna lie. I was very close to bringing Dubravka out, and I was like, "Why am I doing this though?" Because I'm assuming Fulham score because we just keep scoring a lot of goals, but like. There is no trend in the Premier League this season that we should trust for that to continue. So let's just assume Dubravka does all right in this one. And I tell you, once we went 2-0 down, I was just like, Fulham, do not score. Like, there's no point scoring in this game. We're not going to get anything from it. Let me have these points, please. I need these points. So thanks, Fulham. Not thanks, Raul Jimenez, but you know what I mean.
Someone earlier did say we've missed you on the Fulhamish pod as well. So shout
I'm on
out
it.
to whoever
I
mentioned
was on
that.
it last week.
I
Yeah,
saw a
yeah.
tweet that you and Jack were on it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really part of the Fulhamish show. Like, they've got their own like group of people, but I'm like, I think I must be first sub or something off the bench when Fulhamish is in like a crisis. But I do like the Fulhamish pod; it's a good one. So yeah, I was on there on Thursday. If anyone wants to go back and listen to some Fulham chat.
Let's move on with my team and then show you the Chase team. 68 from Dean. That is a good return. Obviously, that's with the Solanke 6. We're still waiting to hear what happens with those Solanke 6. For both of us, we've both got a Newcastle player on 6 points on the bench. So our totals are the same, but the ranks could, of course, change because there's a huge amount of Solanke owners at my ownership. I think there's around 40% own him at my rank. So if the Solanke points are removed, it will probably increase my overall rank because I've got a good first sub and not all will. But again, they could go up to 9. Who knows? We're waiting for official FPL to tweet. My big disappointment, I don't know. Yeah, it's similar. Saka could have had an assist. Foden, again, like 5 points in what could have been more. That's the story of Foden's FPL career. Like, he's always been a player that doesn't hit you massive FPL returns, but always looks like he could. Son disappointing too, but look, Porro's 8 was lovely, and I'm glad. A bit like Palmer this week. Last week, I said similar lines. I don't like to tell you guys who to buy, but go and buy Pedro Porro. So I'm glad that worked out for some that potentially listen to my advice. Let's have a look at the Chaser team. And guys, do hit that like button. I'd love us to get to 100 likes by the end of the show. I've not even checked the likes. Mine's showing 27. That can't be right. No, it's 49. Can we get to 100 in the next 5 minutes? Come on.
37 mine says. Okay, I'll give it 1. 38. So we got hang on. 51. 51. Let's just caught up a little bit. There we go. 50 in the last few minutes. Let's go.
Chaser team 57. We captained Salah, like everyone else. We had the Solanke points. We don't have Watkins though, so that'll be an interesting decision for next week. Do we sell Darwin or do we sell Alvarez, who's obviously on a blank game week? I think Alvarez could be on the chopping block. I'm not entirely sure what the money in the bank is, but I'm guessing we've got a good amount because we don't have Son, we don't have Haaland, so there must be a ton of money in the bank there ready and waiting. We need a goalkeeper. Yeah, we were really unlucky with Areola, weren't we? He was on the bench, still got that strapping over his wrist, but he was on the bench. So yeah, we'll watch this space. But knowing Fabianski kept a clean sheet, I do wonder what Moyes will do with that with the Areola situation.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit of a crisis, though, having no goalkeeper. I'm not saying we need a great one, but we need one. That would be handy for this team. But 57 points, not too bad.
Yeah, we'll take it. Mike says, I listened and bought Porro. Wicked. I'm glad to hear that, Mike. Will you sponsor the show now, Mike? Come on.
Assuming Mike's absolutely loaded, aren't we? Mike, let's know your salary. No, I'm just kidding, Mike. Mike thinks we need Ollie Watkins in
Correct.
this team.
Well, me and the Chasers, yeah. I think you've got him, haven't you, Dean? But
I've got him,
definitely do. I think Watkins is the standout captaincy pick this week. Sheffield United at home. Dean's right. Son against Everton's a good shout. I don't think many will go Salah off the back of a blank and the fact it's Arsenal, although it is at Anfield, and we do know from over the years, Arsenal-Liverpool games at Anfield have had 3-3 draws and big score lines, which could be good for Salah. But for me, I think it's got to be Watkins against Sheffield United. Seeing how Chelsea smashed Sheffield United in terms of chances, certainly second half, you'd think a more efficient attack like Aston Villa will do very well there.
Yeah, I think so. Shane's come up with a technical question here, which I'd like to hear from you on, G, because this is why you are here as our FPL guru. So he says, looking ahead, Son and Salah owned. If I sell for Afcon and Asia, I lose 0.7 million to get them back. What strategy to navigate this? That is a good question.
Yeah, so for example, you could have paid 12.5 for Salah. You'll be selling him at 13.3. When you buy him back, he will have a price drop, but he might be 13 million. So effectively there, you've lost 0.5 on the move. You're buying the same player back. But you won't lose 0.5. You'll sell him for 12.8 and you'd be buying him back at 13. So let's say you lose 0.2. You might lose 0.2 on Son. So I don't think you'd lose the 0.7 because both those players will drop in price. But yeah, you're going to have to take one on the chin there. It's points over pounds, as Gary says in the chat. It's something I say quite often, but definitely one to navigate. Just bear in mind, if both players, let's say Song or Salah, goes out in the group stages, they only miss one game. If they go out in the last 16, they miss 2 games. If we're talking about quarterfinals and beyond, though, it's 3 games, 4 games if it's semi or final, potentially up to 5, depending on if they were to win it. Would he be back 3 days later for a Premier League game, or would they go and do a open bus in Cairo? I don't know. So with those things in mind, just have a look at how perhaps they get on in the first week or look at the draw. I mean, both are fancied. I expect 3 games minimum for both quarterfinals and beyond. But there is a school of thought where you could sell one, keep one. Personally, I think I'll be selling both, and I just go, I lose a little bit of money. I'm actually going to be selling Salah in game week 20. That is pre-planned in. That's the only way I think I'll have funds for Haaland. So I will miss Salah versus Newcastle. But it means I'll be selling at the top of his price bracket, because by 21, you'll see a Salah price drop because everyone will see he's red flagged, and they'll all see estimated return date unknown or based on Egypt getting to the final and go sell, sell, sell.
Yeah, absolutely.
Couple of minutes left of the show, Dean. Did we ever get to 100 likes? Are we close? Do keep hitting that like button, guys.
Where are we at? Let's have a look. Mine says 60, which is not very encouraging, but hopefully that's wrong.
63 I've got. Well, hopefully they're hitting the subscribe button instead.
65, yeah. That's sad, everyone.
Let's finish with your story of Premier League footballer you've bumped into, and then we'll end off the back of that. What's my day job? Do get your guesses in, guys. So, Dean, who did you meet this week? Because you bump into a lot of mainly London-based footballers.
Yeah, there's a lot that live around here. And we were going past a barber's last night, yesterday afternoon. We went to a pantomime, Wizards of Oz, and we went past a barber's, and there's a few football shirts on the wall. And I had a Fulham shirt in there, and I was like, "Oh, look, there's a Fulham shirt in there." To my little boy, I said, "Oh, it means someone's." My wife's like, "No, they just buy those. They would have just bought those shirts off it." I was like, "No, they wouldn't. Like in barbers, you have framed shirts up because a footballer has been in there and he's gifted it to you, or he said, "I'll sort you out a shirt for the wall." I was like, "You don't know. You've never been in one or had these conversations." Like,
I gave my barbers a signed Arsenal football because he's an Arsenal fan, and I was like,
"Oh, did you? Nice, yeah." I was like, "This is like a thing." Anyway, so she didn't. I don't think she really believed me. And as we were walking back a couple of hours later, we're going past this barber's, and double take, Carlos Vinicius sat right there.
So good.
Right there. And I didn't look, it's Carlos Vinicius. And he's like waving through the window. And he's like, "Is it really?" I was like, "Well, I hope so." We're standing at the window waving. I'm 90% sure it is. Yeah. So there we go. Yeah, Carlos Vinicius was my Premier League spot of the week.
I love that you had the discussion only a few hours before about players going in there and leaving shirts, and then you actually go and see a footballer in there.
Honestly, like I was pleased as well because not that my wife had a clue who Carlos Vinicius is. Obviously, she knows about 10 footballers, and that is not one of them. There we go. Will says, "G cut my hair and gave me a shave last week. He's a top barber."
No, I'm not a hairdresser, a plumber, or a poker player. I've got quite a boring job. I do fundraising for a charity called Street Child United, so it's my job to get money off corporate sponsors to sponsor the charity. But maybe that will change, and I'll be a plumber or a hairdresser one day. Who knows? Never say never.
It's not boring. That sounds quite you're helping people. I don't help anyone in my day-to-day job, so at least you've got some moral high ground in your job.
Oh, cheers, mate. Yeah, to be fair, I do love the job. It involves going to some cool places, but also I have to minimize the travel now because I've got a daughter, and I'm like, I used to love the idea of, oh great, I get to go spend 2 weeks in Miami. Now I'd be like, I still want to go to Miami, but can we make it 5 days? And I'll tell the missus I've negotiated it down from 10 to 5 because just too difficult for her to
you can't start taking your own child and open up, get involved in the videos, and
that's why I was asking you about long haul flights, mate, because I've got a trip in Miami in Feb and Dubai, and both I was like, can I take the wife and baby? Because my boss is cool with that, but the long haul flights I just don't think I can yet. I just don't know if I want that stress.
Unless you have to go, it ain't worth it, mate. That's the bottom line.
I'll wait a couple of years.
Miami on your own.
Yeah, exactly. Oh dear, I have to wait a couple of years. Guys, thank you so much for watching. We'll be back on Wednesday with good chat and some FPL advice. And we'll be back on Friday with exactly the same and probably some more stories as well. It's a Thursday deadline this week, though, isn't
Thursday
it, Dean?
deadline, though, mate. I was just going to say, I don't know how we work this out this week. You might have to keep your eyes peeled on our socials because we're going to have to figure this out because it's got a weird old schedule going into Christmas. We'll obviously do another show, but we'll have to figure out exactly when and where it'll be appearing.
Yeah, so probably for the next 2 weeks, make sure you subscribe to Chasing Green Arrows on YouTube. Click the notification bell, but on Twitter as well, because we'll perhaps post a schedule of our shows for the next 10 days on Twitter.
Yeah.
And we'll perhaps pin it to our page and you can just go, yeah, I know I can tune into that one, or that one.
Definitely. Mike, good luck with the night shift, mate. I think you are the only guy that's awake in the literal dead of night on this stream. But everyone else, thank you too for joining in, no matter where you are or what time it is. We appreciate it.
Wicked. Thank you, guys. We'll see you very soon. He's been Dean, I've been Johnny, and we've been Chasing Green Arrows.